Hey everyone, this is Diamond Rivera, and we're back at it with the live discussions with Diamond Podcast. This is episode 223, and definitely this episode tonight is going to be interesting and really informative, and another way to appreciate another artist in our industry. Before we get started, everyone, I hope your Wednesday is going amazing. Again, it's halfway through the week, the weekend is almost here. And guys, I just want to let you know that, these past few weeks with these podcasts have been really, really informative, really helping telling artists' stories. And I'm really excited for everything to come. We have so many more artists coming your way. But tonight's guest is a person that I truly admire. Seeing her work all the way from back 2019 and before, and making her way all the way from Bulgaria to New York. And she's really been able to create an amazing ladies team. And tonight we have the opportunity of having the one and only Iva Iordanova on
Yay.
the podcast. Hey, I'm trying to get it. Hopefully I got it right this time.
Well, you did. Thank you so
Okay.
much. And
No,
with that introduction, you're going to make me cry. Really.
Oh, come
Thank
on.
you.
Hey, it really shows that, I really thought about this because for me as well, having people on this platform, I've talked to many people who've been dancing from decades or just a few years, but people in this industry, and a lot of times, as we've talked as well privately, a lot of dancers' stories are told mainly through visuals, through a 2 minute, 1 minute clip or project. But for me to have you here means a lot because I've been seeing your work. I'm loving it. Even your teaching from just your ladies team, even you teaching at events with Candelas and Salsa Mania, seeing you in social videos, and now we get to actually have this conversation. So again, the
Well, thank
pleasure
you
and honor is all mine.
for creating this platform where we can actually have these conversations and actually, we talked a little bit with you backstage about humanizing the artists and showing the human face and human stories behind our craft and our social media and YouTube channels and so on. So it's incredible, and it's incredible how many episodes you've already have had. So it's just a testament to your consistency and your determination, and it's the small
It's the little things that count.
the little things that count.
Yes.
I was going to say, that the ocean is made up of the small drops of water, but at the end of the day, without those drops, there is no ocean. So
I love it. I love that analogy. And, for me as well, being able to have a conversation with another artist that is actually from another country is extremely even more interesting for me because being stateside, I've come in contact with so many artists from all over the world, but sometimes very few that actually come all the way to New York to train, but actually stay here. But, really, if to get to the heart of it, really starting out, my first question to you, Eva, is can you kind of give me an understanding of what life was like for you before New York, before the traveling, before the dancing, before it all?
well, my story is a bit unconventional
Hmm.
because I actually have a very long relationship with New York because this is where I got my undergraduate degree. So I lived
Okay.
here. So I lived here from 2006, 7 to 2011.
Hmm.
And my education, both my undergrad and my grad, they have nothing to do with dance. So
Oh.
I graduated with a degree in international business, and then I did an internship at the United Nations, and I worked at Pfizer for a year before I moved
Okay.
back to Europe. So the last 10 years I've been back to Europe, actually 11 already.
Mm.
And while I was in Europe, I was in Bulgaria, I had a career in politics. And after my career in politics, I started my own consulting company. And through the work with my consulting company, I was still traveling back and forth because I was consulting Bulgarian companies who wanted to enter the US market.
Yes.
So I was still spending some time here in the States as well for work. And then the pandemic hit, and I was in Bulgaria throughout the whole pandemic. And then at the end of last year of 2021, I made a decision that I am going to put dance at the forefront of my life for 1 year,
Yeah.
because my whole life dance has always been in the background. My first
Mm.
team, I created my first team 20 years ago. I was 18 years old when I created my first team, but it was always in the background, and there were periods
Hmm.
of time when I would not be dancing at all. In my time in politics, I did not dance at all. During my marriage, I did not dance at all, and now I hit a point where I was about to be 37 years old. I don't
Hmm.
have a family anymore because I'm divorced. The world has radically shifted during the pandemic and has opened different opportunities and new ways of expressing and being even more authentic and courageous and so on.
Yeah.
And I just decided now is the time. I'm going to give myself 1 year that I'm going to fully immerse myself in dance and see where it takes me. And you know, what better place to do that than New York, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's everybody's dream, and then when they get here, reality sets in.
Well, it's true. It's true. In some
No,
ways, I have the advantage of having been here before,
yes.
and not being new to the city. But in other ways, to tell you the truth, being here for study or being here for working in corporate America, the way I've had,
Hmm.
and being here for dance is two completely different things.
Yes.
It's literally being in two different cities. So as much as I've been here, and as much as I have people I know, I have places that I go to that are familiar and so on.
Hmm.
At the same time, it's like a completely new experience and completely uh, new dive.
No, I totally agree. And you said like with dance has really been a part of your life, really. But my question to you is because you said you started your own company at 18, but what was the year that you can say that you got introduced into the formal, that dance curriculum, dance structure? What were your first disciplines or
Oh,
styles that you learned?
I was very young because my parents, even though they both have other careers. They met when they were very young at the Bulgarian National Youth Ensemble for Folklore Dance, Bulgarian folk dance.
Mm.
And they literally had me and conceived me through their love of dance while they were
Ah.
part of that team and traveling and so on. So sometimes I like to joke when somebody asks me how long I've been dancing that I've been dancing since my mother's belly, which is
I mean, hey, technically it's true.
yes,
I mean,
but I was very young. I was very young when I started with Bulgarian folk dancing, which I do even to this day. I
mm,
was, I believe, 6, 7 years old, something like that. And then later on, I moved into hip hop. I
gotcha.
moved into high heels. Then I was introduced to Afro Latin culture, and one thing after another.
Yeah, I mean, so my question to you is, of course, living in Bulgaria, for people who don't know, is the dance scene kind of a thriving, blossoming scene there? Or is it
Hmm.
still growing?
It's a very interesting place because Eastern Europe was very much thriving about 10, 12 years ago.
Hmm.
There was a very strong not Cuban community in terms of many Cubans living there, but Cuban dance community. So a lot of people were dancing Cuban style, casino style, and then
Yeah.
a lot of people were dancing on one. And there were these amazing congresses, these amazing events. And then there was a period of maybe 5, 6 years ago when things kind of started going downhill. And now
Mhm.
they're starting to go back up again with salsa on two, with mambo,
Okay.
but also with bachata taking over.
Thank you. And you said it. You said it. Not you said it.
Because as you know, it's not a secret that bachata has become the main form of dance in Europe the last 3, 4 years.
That is absolutely true. I
And
would say even longer if I may add.
well, I don't really have that much of an observation for.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I just hit my table. But if 5, 6, 7 years ago you would go to an event and you would have the huge room with
Mhm.
salsa, and then you would have a small room with bachata and small room with kizomba.
Yeah.
Now the large room is bachata and the small
Hey.
room is salsa.
I,
And it is what it is. I think actually New York is one of the few places that, probably because it's the bastion of mambo, it's still holding the fort.
I mean,
But
hey, I mean, I would say this also, salsa on two mambo has just like honestly globally been an influence.
mm,
Realizing, because again, like you said, many people who don't understand on one and then casino dancing, that's a primary dance style in many cities and many countries.
mm,
For people in New York, as we know, we're kind of the salsa mambo two capital and everything. But don't get me wrong, I mean, in New York, you can find some people that know a little bit on one fluently. But for you, then actually, my introduction to you as well was through our friend, our mutual friend, Ramon
Ramon,
Brito.
yes.
Yeah, I mean, it was the
Shout out to
photography.
Ramon.
Oh, definitely shout out Ramon. I mean, and then also I think at one point you and Ramon did kind of a project together. Am I correct?
We were teaching together in Bulgaria because him and Divna, his lovely, lovely wife, who is Bulgarian, they moved to Bulgaria actually right before the pandemic started.
Yes.
And Ramon, I don't know, maybe he would be upset with me about saying this, but he was having a bit of a hard time adjusting to realities in Bulgaria for many
I,
reasons.
I mean, yeah.
Bulgaria is not famous for being a very tolerant country.
Yes.
And to have somebody like Ramon there, the way he looks, his skin color, and so on,
Yeah.
you know, you would have somebody like him walking on the street, and you would have people staring at him. It's just
Hmm.
how it is. And for someone like him who is born in New York and who has lived and been brought up
Yeah.
in arguably the most freedom like place in the world, the most tolerant place in the world, to go from here to Bulgaria was a huge transition to him.
Yeah.
So at some point, I suggested to him, because I think they had made a decision with Divna to really stay away from dance for a while or for a longer and focus on other things.
Hmm.
But I suggested to him, let's just start training together, just the two of us. Nobody needs to know, just for our creativity to flow and for us to, feed off each other's creativity and energy and knowledge and so on. And then one thing after another, he actually started training the girls on my team
Hmm.
during the pandemic, because we could still go to the studio illegally, late at night. And he was training the girls on my team. He actually choreographed one of the routines with me and another artist from Italy. His name is Amadou. It was
Hmm.
an incredible routine that we did. And then just naturally, we started teaching classes together. So, I think it was, he ended up having a pleasant experience of understanding that no matter where we go, no matter where we live, dance is still going to be the one thing that's going to balance us and ground us and be the
Yeah.
anchor no matter where we are.
Nah. So my question to you then is, of course, living in Bulgaria, but you making that ultimate decision to move to New York. Like you said, you've been going for years, but what made or what manifested that decision to then make that ultimate choice to move?
Well, if I have to be honest, I don't want to. I'm trying not to box myself into thinking that I am here permanently.
Gotcha.
I would actually like to think that there is many opportunities out there, much more than we actually can see at the moment.
Hmm.
And I'm actually thinking about different ways in which I can share my energy and my knowledge and my passion for dance, not necessarily being in New York full time, all the time, long term, and so on. So
Hmm.
I'm not tied to the idea of being here
Yes.
necessarily, but I knew that if I wanted to get the best training and if I wanted to get some kind of a breakthrough, New York
Hmm.
is the place to be. I mean, we all know if you can make it here,
Uh, you
anyway.
make it. Oh
I
yes, the
mean, it's true.
cliche.
It
Yes.
is true. It is
Yeah.
true, because the level of competition here, the level of quality of dancers, both for professional dancers and for social dancers, it's
Hmm.
just the same. You go. I will never forget some of the first classes that I went to here were intermediate advanced classes, and I was so confident because I was, I was a teacher in my country. Of course, I'm an intermediate advanced level dancer. And I would go to classes here, and 30 minutes later, I would want to leave the class crying because it was just insane, 4 or 5 years ago. So the level of training that you get here, even if it's just 2-3 weeks of training here, is worth 6-7 months anywhere else.
Wow. And that says a lot, because for me, I've talked to many people from Europe, many artists, and they told me their opinion is they feel like more the state side is more performance based, rather than in Europe, it's more social dancing based.
Mm.
That meaning is, and I understood it because there was an artist many years ago that told me, he says, you guys have so many shows. You guys have so many acts, so many
It's
groups, so
insane.
many
You
companies.
go to a congress and you have 52 shows in a night.
50, 60, the list goes on. But I feel like in Europe, it's a lot more selective. There are very few people that will perform, and the margin for error really is even
Mm.
more intensified. But for me, when you came here, I mean, of course, like you said, you've been coming for years, but what was your overall experience, honestly, coming to socials? Like you said, you kind of learned very quickly the levels were different, but as you got better, what were your
Well,
experiences like?
it's a very interesting point you're bringing, because I think it's a very different culture as well. And
Hmm.
in some ways now I'm thinking why that might be. But I think in the US, the community here is very influenced by the whole Hollywood culture, right?
Gotcha.
So here, in order to be recognized as a good artist, or in order to be popular, you have to be a performer. You have to be on stage. You have to bring a show.
Hmm.
And social dancing, in a way, is a little behind the scene, because even when you go to a social, or even when you go to the party part of an event where you're performing or teaching it, you are still going to be in the company of um, like-minded artists, you know,
Yes.
or I call them the clique, because you
Oh,
go
yes, yes, you have it.
you go to an
You hit it
event
right on.
and you see these groups of artists that they only mingle with each other, they only talk to each other, they stay around the DJ booth, and they,
Yes.
even if they social dance amongst themselves, they take the videos and then they leave, right? In Europe,
Mm.
artists feel it's a privilege to actually go to an event and to actually be able to dance with people. And when you go to an event in Europe, you can see people like Angelo Urito, Fernando Sosa, Pablito.
Mhm.
They are not going to even be sitting next to the DJ. They're going to be in the middle of the dance floor. They're going to be dancing with everyone who's asking them to dance. They're going to
Yes.
dance full songs. They don't do it because they're going to be taking a video of them dancing and posting it on YouTube. And it's where you actually build your network and your credibility and your what's the word, likehood, so to say.
Yes, your likeness. Basically,
Like,
you're building your reputation. You're
yes,
building,
and
yeah.
um, it's a more effortful um, process to
Mhm.
do it this way, but it's also a more sustainable process. And this is why, if you look at artists in Europe, you have certain artists that have been on the top of their game for the past decade, for example.
Yes.
Because here there's artists that can come on top very fast, but they also fall off the top as fast as they got there. And it's not sustainable. Success here is not sustainable because it's not deep, so to say. I don't
No,
know if it makes sense.
no, I totally understand. Is that, to be honest, I've had these conversations with so many. Everything you've said, I have heard. But
Mm,
the difference is with the other person is that they feel how they say it won't come across the way it should be. But you said it exactly how it is. Because and many people will come to me and say, why are you saying this type of things, or why are you speaking about this? Is because it's our reality. We love dancing. We
mm,
love what it brings to us. We love the rewards. But again, we are real world people who have real world issues, deal with things a lot of times the same, and realizing over time, The For me, my biggest thing is having the organizers and the artists work as a team, because for so long these organizers and promoters thrive or profit off of the artist. And a lot of times the artists are getting left behind. A lot of times the artists are getting overlooked. And like you said about the socials, we have been to the same events. Trust me, I know. When you see that click right there at the DJ booth has their drinks right over there, they'll dance a little bit, they'll see the shows, they'll congratulate people, and then one or two videos and then they leave. And
Yep.
then you have those that just simply enjoy the experience. And everything you said, honestly, from top to bottom, 100% correct, even from your experience, because I've seen it. And it's okay that we have these conversations, because again, we're still going to go to socials, we're still going to interact and talk with people, but it's about how we learn from kind of the past and learn from
Yeah.
others the way they do things. Because again, I think you realize, Eva, as well, when you used to come to New York, whether it's socials or congresses and events, and then 2022 now, I think, could you kind of say that you're seeing a whole new generation of dancers?
Yes and no.
Hmm.
And I'll tell you why. It's a new generation of dancers in terms of faces, right?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean.
But what I would like to see more of is more versatility and more
Hmm.
uniqueness and more individuality. Because I
Absolutely.
feel there is a lot of talented people coming up, a lot of new, young, talented, extremely talented artists. But what most of them are doing is trying to walk the footsteps of people that have already made it to
Yes.
the top. And in doing so, some of them are losing their individuality and some of them are losing their strength. So it's not just about how talented you are, right?
Yeah.
It's also about staying true to your uniqueness and staying true to your authenticity, and then also having the courage to actually, you know, fight for it
Oh
instead
no, no. Yeah.
instead of going with the mainstream and what's popular now and what's trendy now and all of that. Because at some point you open your social media. I don't know about you, but my social media is primarily dancers, right? Dancers
Hmm.
that I follow. And then you start scrolling and it's basically the same thing, just
Yeah.
different colors, costumes. And it's not even the same, it's not even different music. It's usually the same songs.
Yeah.
It's the same visuals for the costumes. It's the same makeup. It's the same hairstyles. It's the same attitude. It's the same projection. So who cares that there is like 100 new artists coming up, right? When it's all the same, and it's so rare to see something that's innovative, pioneering, different. And usually when something like that comes up, to me personally, the community is a very conservative community at the moment.
Mm.
And when something new comes up, it there's two ways to approach it. It's
Yeah.
either it's either really super supporting that person or super destroying that person.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And that's an unfortunate reality. But even to that word of individuality, I actually have a quote here. This artist said, "So at what point do we actually, and do we at all, look at each other for who they really are?"
Mm,
And that came from you, from your video and core curriculum, and I resonated with that quote, because that individuality holds true, especially in our industry, because it also brings me to my next point of you being a female artist,
mhm.
especially one that does is not fixated or focused on having a partner at
Yeah.
times. You can collaborate, you can work. And I've talked to many female solo artists, and they've told me their struggles over the years of being able to be hired, being able to work. And the work I've seen you do, it's like, for me, it's refreshing, it's
Oh,
invigorating, because and I mean that, because like you said, we've seen it all. At this point, it's like you really got to wow someone, but it's almost to the point, and I hate to say this sometimes, the audience is now anticipating It has to be a flip or a trick or a crazy dip for people to have a wow factor rather than just enjoying the connection between the two,
Mm.
you know, and to see at least your work as well. What is your overall experience been like being a female artist, especially working in New York, but just working in general and traveling?
Well, I don't think in this community in particular there is anything more difficult than being
Hmm.
a female solo artist. And especially being a female artist that is trying to create their brand and their craft, not uh, based on a partnership that they've been a part of or
Yeah.
a team that they've been a part of. Because if you've already been a part of a successful partnership or a famous partnership, then I feel it's a bit easier. I don't know because I've never been a part of partnership, but I feel
Hmm.
that it would be a little more easier if you stay solo after that. But when you're
Mm.
coming into this community being a solo artist, it's very, very difficult. And in my case also because I'm white, and
Hmm.
let's face it, there is not that many white people in this community.
No, it's true. It is. So as artists, I would say as
Yes,
actual artists of a
yes,
Latin dance,
yes.
yes.
So it gets even worse.
Hmm.
But then there's also the question of um, you know promoters trying to take advantage of female artists, no matter where they come from.
Mm.
It's also the idea that because we are female artists, we can be paid less than the male artists. It's also the idea that because we are female teachers, we can be given shittier time slots to teach than male artists.
Yeah.
And, you know, situations where you can get angry, they will blame it on your hormones. You will get,
Wow.
you know,
Uh,
you will get, you will stand up for yourself. You would be called a bitch, and all of those. So it's a really fine balance to be able to move forward and to be able
mhm.
to establish your name, and navigate through something that's not really happened a lot in this community because it's not that many female artists that have really made it to
Yep.
the top of the game completely by themselves.
Yeah, and for me, I have to honestly say, I want to see more of that.
Mm.
Just as well as we can have the males, we have to have the females because for many, I learned this a long time ago from some of the greats. Was when it came to partner work, no matter how much energy the male has, the woman is the portrait and the male is the frame. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, people want, I always say, I'm there to see you guys, but I'm there to see the female. Because again, it's just something for me. And I wish, honestly, in our community, in our scene, in our culture, we do have more female representation, solo artists. Because listen, I have seen many females dance and they
Mm.
could run circles around men. And this is coming from a man who's seen it, who's filmed it. And again, for me, seeing your work is special because you, again, coming all the way from Bulgaria, working here, teaching classes, and even now transitioning is now, before you were a student, now you're an actual teacher.
Well, I'm
And
still a student. I will always be a
you'll
student.
always be a student of the game. That's understandable.
I mean, yesterday I was teaching a class. I finished teaching my class, and in between my class and rehearsal with my team, I had 1 hour free, and I was sitting on a couch. And why am I sitting on a couch? And let me go take a class. So I went and took a class.
Hey, I mean, I wish everybody had your focus, but what is, have you honestly kind of taken a step back and realized like how far you've come coming from, learning as a young child, but now in New York City doing what you love? Have you had those moments to kind of think about it?
Well, to tell you the truth, it's exactly the opposite. I wish I could give myself a little more credit about what I'm
Mm,
doing, because the reality is that I come from Eastern Europe, which is in no way associated with um, Latin dance and Afro Latin culture, and I'm one of the few female artists, not just female, one of the few artists from that part of the world that has been able to somehow establish a name for herself. I am teaching at one of the most special places possible, which is Empire Mambo.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I have the trust of arguably one of the most respected and most popular dancers of our time, who is Adolfo.
Yes.
And with my team back in Bulgaria last year, for example, we were finalists at Bulgaria's Got Talent, and then we were featured in numerous evening shows and late night shows and so on. So there is so much that I've achieved in terms of where I come from, and the fact that I'm not 22, 23, I'm 37 years old. And that's also
Mhm.
a factor, because how many people at my age are out there basically just starting out? Of course,
Mhm.
there is artists that are 33, 4, 5 years old, but they've been in the game for 10 years.
Yeah.
And for me, I feel like I'm just starting out. So sometimes I wish I could give myself a little more credit for where I am, but I also think it's my nature to always want to be better today than I was yesterday, better tomorrow than I was today, and to always keep moving forward. So I'm never really satisfied with where I am. I always know that there is more to push, more to make an effort, more to become better. And
Absolutely.
yeah.
No, I mean, but I think also it helps when it's a person from the outside looking in, saying like, "Hey, you've been able to do a lot, and in such a really, I would even say a short time." But
Mhm.
that really goes towards your focus. So lastly, kind of give us an understanding of what it's been like, having your own ladies team and performing as of the last 2 to 3 years, technically.
Well, it's a very special. It has been a very special experience, because in February it will be 5 years since I started the team,
Hmm.
and in those 5 years, actually, more than 40 women have been a part of the team, and a lot of those people, and by a lot I mean 10 of them. I can literally count them right now with names. 10 of them are now teachers, and
Mm.
and some of them actually already have very successful careers on their own, especially in my country. So to now have the team both in Bulgaria and here, and to be thinking about the next steps, and towards the end of the year, when I have this idea to bring the ladies from both sides of the Atlantic, and to have the team compete at the summit or Euroson, it's a very special experience, and I feel very privileged to be working with women only. Um, a lot of people are asking me, like, how do you do it? Because it's so difficult to work only with women, right? Imagine
Hmm.
all the moods and all.
Hey, I don't agree with that. I can't say that.
But to me, it has been a very special experience, and I feel very, very grateful also for the ladies here in New York that have trusted me their time and energy and talent,
Hmm.
and that consider me their mentor and their director. And I think what we're doing with the team is very different than what's out there, because, as you said, the last few years we're so used to now seeing tricks and spins and dips and splits and all of that, which is okay. It's okay. But at the end of the day, we're not doing gymnastics. We're
Yeah.
doing
And it's
and
sorry. Yeah.
yeah. And every time before we perform with the team, I always, of course, we do a circle, and I always give a few words of encouragement and empowerment to the girls. But the one thing that I always say is for us to really enjoy this
Hmm.
time that we have with each other on stage, enjoy the possibility we have and the opportunity we have to dance, to move at this very moment,
Yes.
because this is the only way that you can really relate to the people watching you. You can be the most technical dancer, you can have the most amazing technique, you can do 7 spins in the time that other people would do 3.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that joy, if you don't have that appreciation, if you don't have the answer to the question, what am I doing this for, in
Yes.
your heart, just before you go to perform, then there is nothing that the audience is going to feel. There is no way that the audience is going to relate. And to me, the reason why we do what we do is that when people watch,
Hmm.
they can say to themselves, oh, I can do that. I'm inspired. I'm going to try to do it.
Yes.
And they're going to go to the studio trying to do that because it felt relatable and it felt natural and it felt authentic, rather than them looking at saying, oh, fuck, I'll never be able to do that. And
Yeah.
leaving the place feeling discouraged, you know?
No, I totally agree. And to be honest, I would say even just looking forward, we have to put ourselves in positions to get better
Mm,
over time. I mean, because again, these conversations that we have are now letting people know there are no more excuses of you don't know what to do, you don't know what's happening. Because when I have these type of conversations with artists like yourselves, we can talk about the good, but we also have to talk about what the improvements that need to happen. Because again, as a female artist, as a solo artist, as just an artist, I think everyone should be treated fairly. And unfortunately, whether it's in our society, whether it's in our little community, our little hole, our little social gatherings, there's a lot of things that need to change. And for me, I love seeing the representation a lot more of female solo acts. Because again, I personally feel that whatever a man can do and female can do.
mm.
And a lot of times I've seen a lot more women do it better. So if I have to be completely honest. But lastly, before we get into our last segment called the randoms, my question to you is, we're in 2022 currently. Right now we're hitting halfway past the year into 2023. What are some things that you are looking forward to coming up?
Well, I am looking forward to actually going back to Europe in a couple of weeks. Well, first
Mm,
of all, I'm looking forward to a trip to Miami that I have with my team this coming weekend.
wow.
Uh, oh, watching from Mexico. Wow.
Yes.
Well,
Much love, Magali. Yes. I mean,
amazing. Yes, so this is actually going to be the first performance for my team outside of New York.
Mhm.
So we're very, very excited about this. And then I'm going back to Europe for a string of events I have there. Uh,
Okay.
and then hopefully coming back to New York in the late summer, and getting ready for these competitions that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I mean, you seem very busy. And listen, you are grinding, you are doing amazing work because, again, whether I'm seeing you from a social dance video, whether I'm seeing you teaching a class, whether I'm seeing you performing, you're just there. And I
Thank
think you've been, and I'd say this no matter what, the age means nothing. It's
No,
really,
yeah, I really don't take for granted what I do. I had so to say, a health scare, a health episode in February
Mhm.
of this year. Something happened to me that really woke me up
Yeah,
to the fact that I am very grateful to be able to dance, and I'm very grateful to be able to share how dance and movement have changed my life, and to hopefully be in the position to do so for other people, to help them walk the way of transforming their life through dance and through movement.
yes.
So in everything that I do, I really go with this attitude, and I really don't take it for granted, and I really, really enjoy everything that I do, no matter how hard it is. And some days it's unbearably hard, quite frankly. But I'm really happy about what I'm doing.
Hey, and I'm definitely happy too. And I definitely feel as well your 2022 is going to be really rewarding. And now it actually helps us transition to our last segment called the randoms.
I'm
And
scared.
yes, these are some questions that I've kind of built up from our time of talking. So all I need to know is when you are ready.
I'm ready.
All right. So right now you are at one of your favorite events of all time. Does not matter what event it is. And
Okay.
the DJ says, hey, this is the last song of the night, but Eva, you get to pick the song.
Oh, well, salsa or bachata? Let.
Whatever you can do both.
Whoa, that's tough. That is very, very tough. So, okay, if it's salsa, um, it would it would definitely be something by Frankie Ruiz.
Oh, yes.
or
Definitely.
or it will be a song by Leoni Torres.
Okay.
Definitely one of the two. If it's bachata, uh, hmm, I have no idea.
No Anthony Santos, no
No,
Joveras, no.
no, I would not pick those for a last song. I would,
Oh.
uh, all of those would be somewhere in the middle of the social, but not for a last song.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, I know a lot of bachata songs, and I know it.
I think for a last song, it would have to be something by Daniel Santa Cruz.
Oh, okay.
Yes, a little more on the romantic side of it. I'm not saying
Yes.
sensual because I don't consider Daniel
Yes.
a sensual artist, but more on the romantic bachata side.
Absolutely. I definitely agree. I definitely agree. All right. Next question is, all right, you're back at your favorite event right now, and you can dance only with one of a person. Who is your next and last dance of the night?
Oh, salsa or bachata?
You know what? For you, salsa.
Well, let me. Can I share a short story? Because it's
Absolutely.
okay. So we all know who Ataka is, right? Jorge
Yes.
Ataka, right? He's arguably the most famous bachata dancer there is out there. But one of my worst bachata dances ever is with Jorge. But one of the most amazing salsa dances I've ever had is with Jorge.
Wow.
At the same event, two different nights, worst bachata was with him. And the reason was because I was wearing heels and I am way too much taller than him. And
Okay.
it just wasn't working.
Yeah, just
But then the night after, the following night, he was actually in the salsa room. Nobody would even recognize him because nobody would expect him to be in the salsa room, right? And
hey, I've seen the man go in different ones, but I know
I
what you
know
mean. I know what you mean.
he's one of the smoothest leads there are. So if it has to be salsa, I'll probably say Jorge, because if he's around, then no matter no matter what song they play, it would be okay. But that's if we're talking about like global names and so on.
Oh,
But
but yeah, it could be anyone. But
then,
even if we're gonna go to bachata now, who would you take?
uh,
You can always have a redemption dance with George.
I would always enjoy dancing with Chris Moreno
Oh
from
yes,
the
my
King.
guy, my guy. Frost, definitely.
Yes,
Chris
always,
Moreno.
because his flavor, his groove, his vibe, his uniqueness. You never know what he's going to bring to the dance, and he's always pushing you to bring something new. So
Mm.
I would always take a dance with him.
Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. Next one here, we're gonna bring it back to Bulgaria. So,
All
give
right.
me one word to describe Bulgaria.
Um, just one?
Yep.
No. Let's say untapped potential.
Okay. I like that. I like where that's going because there's so much more room for growth, but it's not on the decline, it's actually on the rise.
Yes.
Okay. I definitely see where you're going. I think just like you said, economically, community based, things like you said.
Socially, politically, there is so much room for improvement, but there is also so much potential to grow and to develop and to bloom.
Mm, I love that. I love that. All right, let's take it back to dance right now. And I love asking this question because the answers are endless. I need you to tell me your pet peeve at a social.
Oh, uh, well, it's not really a pet peeve. It's just it really pisses me off when
Hmm.
people don't have a sense of space at a social.
Spatial awareness.
Spatial awareness. It's just, yeah, that
They
that
bump into you like you clearly have enough space,
and
but
then
somebody.
exactly, and then let's also say it. Going to a social after you've had dinner and not use the chewing gum or brush your teeth. Obviously, you can't really brush your teeth if you've been to a restaurant outside, but at least get a chewing gum and
Yeah.
some perfume just before you get to the social.
I totally understand. I mean, I'm the videographer. I'm standing in that one spot and I got to smell it. And listen, it is equal opportunity. It is male and
Yes,
female.
I am. I did not separate male or.
No. I'm just saying. I say from my experience, but hey, I agree because some people have told me connection. Some people have told me hygiene. Some people have told me literally just not interested in the dance, or even the ones that,
Mhm.
and I'm going to be honest, I've heard this story many times. People who someone you've asked someone to dance, they say no, and then when they see you dance, then they want to ask you to dance.
Well, to tell you the truth, well, it's probably someone's pet peeve, but I would often say no to people that I don't know and that I've never
Yeah.
danced with. And then I would always watch them dance. And if I think
Yes.
they would be a good lead, I would myself go and ask them to dance, and I would apologize for saying no earlier.
Hmm.
But I've gotten to a point where I'm not scared anymore to say no to someone.
No.
I
Oh yeah. No. Absolutely.
I don't feel obligated to dance with anyone, and especially when you use your body as the instrument for the work that you do, you have the right to be picky with about who you dance with, because
Absolutely.
there is so many leads out there who don't understand body mechanics and the way the body moves and proper leadership in dance, leading or not leadership, proper leading in dance, that you can't risk going to a social and leaving the social with your trapezoid muscle being strained because somebody was a
Yes.
good lead,
Hmm.
or it's just the reality of things. So
Oh, I know I definitely understand because I've also had those conversations with artists who say like, "Hey, when I go to an event, I'm not going to dance with everyone because again, this is my work, this is my money. I can't afford to want to dance with everyone and want to please everybody and risk losing work or risk an injury." So I definitely understand that. All right, our
I have,
next
sorry,
question.
I have
Yes,
one more pet peeve though, and it
absolutely.
actually goes to teachers and instructors on
Hmm.
socials. Because what I would like to see happening more is teachers and instructors going to socials more and dancing with ordinary people more, rather
Yes.
than just what we were talking about, staying with each other and with the DJ at the bar. And then even if they dance with a ordinary person, the face they would have and their facial expression
Yes.
would be one that just projects boredom and you know arrogance. I hate when I see that, and unfortunately I've seen a lot of it in the last few months. So that's a pet peeve for sure.
Hey, and I love that you're hitting the nail on the head, as they say out here. And because again, it's happened. I've seen it. I've confronted people about it myself and talked to them because again, I mean, hey, all we're doing is putting people on notice. We don't have to tell you who it is, but we know and we've seen it. And
Mm.
just this is also advice going for future dancers, new generation of new faces, like you said,
Well,
having them on.
and that's the other thing, that there's so many people who think that just because they have 50,000 followers on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and they post a story and their story is viewed by 10,000 people, they're famous, important, and so on. But in the big picture of things, does Jennifer Lopez know who we are? Like, does Romeo Santos know who we are? Or I don't know, Mark Anthony? All these people that actually in a way represent Latin culture on a broad global commercial level,
Mhm.
right? There's probably just people you can count on the five fingers of one of your hands that have that level of recognition and popularity. And
I
and everyone else were is just popular within the small circle that where they work, where they teach, where they grew up. So when you see somebody acting like this huge deal at a social,
Mhm.
it's just funny. to
I
me.
mean, hey, I definitely understand because, like you said, and it's true, many people who gain notoriety, as the word I would say, gain attention is normally within their community. And I've told many people, don't get me wrong, I love the art of dance. I have the word
Mhm.
tattooed to me. But for me, I didn't get into this industry to become famous.
Mm.
Because if we talk about fame, let's really talk about if you're not making corporate America any money,
Yep.
they don't care. You know, when we go to these private events and maybe dance for these people, the money they shell out is pennies. We're entertainment. But I think also besides the entertainment value, it's humanizing our
Mm.
art, saying that beyond the artist is the person, and that's what I feel is more important.
Mm.
Whether you're teaching or performing, whatever you're doing, if you're helping the community grow and become better, those are the people I appreciate.
Exactly.
And, for me, again, this is just another opportunity of us just growing and building. All right, our next question, this should be very interesting. So, if right now you could create a project and you
Hmm.
could actually work with one other person and collaborate, who would it be?
A dancer, a musician,
Anyone.
oh, Jennifer Lopez, always.
So if I'm actually if besides JLo, but we're talking now about in the dance scene.
um, I would collab with somebody that is, to me, one of the most special yet underrated artists that are out there. He happens also to be teaching at Empire, and that's Jorge Salas.
Yeah. Oh yes.
To me, Jorge is somebody who I don't even think we realize the kind of gem we have in New York with an artist like him living here, teaching here, and artistically, expressing himself here. Because the level of versatility that he has with mambo, flamenco, afro, rumba, his choreographic expression, and his level of commitment and discipline and work ethic is just, quite frankly, I can literally say I have never seen anyone like him.
Mm.
So even though I work in the same studio with him, I see him every day, and it wouldn't be an expected choice. I would definitely collab with him because it's just so much to learn from someone like him.
Absolutely. And big shout out to Jorge Salas. All right, Eva, we are down to our last question. I
Oh
love
no!
I know. This last question should be interesting because, of course, we've talked about dance, but this is something also I would love to know. So, if you aren't dancing, you are doing blank because we understand dance is a part of your life.
Hmm.
What are some things that you really love to do outside of it?
Well, outside of dancing, I have my own foundation, and with the foundation, I do work in the field of um, art, culture, education, youth policy, youth empowerment, policy change, and you know youth support, and actually also nuclear disarmament. So these are all topics that I'm interested in, all topics that I invest my time, energy, knowledge in, and it's, yes, it's what I am doing when I'm not dancing. And I'm also now, it's a new thing that um, I'm going back to, because I used to do it before the pandemic, but since we didn't have events during the pandemic, now it's starting again.
Mhm.
I'm going back into event promotion and event organization. So, for
Mm.
example, in the beginning of September, with partners of mine, we're bringing Havana de Primera to Sofia for a concert, and we have both plans for next year to bring two other very, very famous artists to Bulgaria for concerts. Yeah, so this is something that I'm also doing.
Okay. Hey, I mean, besides dancing and inspiring new artists, now you're still working in event promotion and planning and inspiring these new events that'll be popping up in Sofia, Bulgaria. And honestly, Eva, thank you again for doing this segment, The
Well,
Randoms.
it was totally my pleasure. I have no idea when. 1 hour just flew by.
Oh yeah, but that's also due to great conversation, and I think it helps us
Well,
transition to really to our conclusion. And honestly, I really say like every episode that I do, especially my first time, is this is really a part one because for me, I feel like our lives are like onions. There are so many layers to peel back, so many stories. And for me, having this moment and this time that we have to have these conversations are valuable because a lot of times, if we ever have any conversations really this deep and this informative, it's usually in the hotel rooms. Because when we're in the socials, we're not worried about a lot of times having these combos with loud music blasting in the background. And for me, having this platform means a lot because it's about humanizing the art, as I say, and actually putting the face to the art, the face to the piece. And for me to have you on means a lot because I've been watching your journey for many years. And thanks to Ramon Brito, who does some amazing photography out there in Bulgaria, having you there as one of his models for his shoots.
yes.
But then you even the work you've been doing in New York, teaching almost in various weeks in New York at Candelas, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and now even as well you having your own ladies team over the past couple years. Have to congratulate you on that because when you did I'm Every Woman, I loved it. I love
Oh,
that video. And again, I really feel that the work you've been able to create, the word I can use for that is meaningful. It actually has
oh,
meaning and context because like you said, somebody can do something and it gains this bit of attention and their mindset changes. But for me, I see that you stay true to the art form, you appreciate it, no matter the color of your skin, no matter where you're from, you appreciate it. You appreciate the music, you appreciate the art. And at least before we do go, I would love to know if you had any last few words, but also contact info on how people can reach you.
well, I'm on social media. People can reach me on IG or Facebook with my handle is my first and last name. But before we go, I really want to thank you again, um, because it takes a lot of um, authenticity on your side to be able to actually give the opportunity to somebody else to open up to you in that way as well. We've seen many interviews where artists are not opening up and they're not being honest because they're not stimulated by the host and they're not stimulated in the conversation to feel
Mhm.
to be that way and to feel that way. With you, it's very easy.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, but it also, and I would say this lastly, it really comes from a person saying, like, from one artist to another. Meaning is like we may not have performed in the same night in the same stage, but we both been through the relentless rehearsal times, the sacrifices we've made, the costumes we bought, the money we've shelled out, the injuries we may have sustained. I understand that journey. So it comes a little bit more personal that rather than someone who's never lived this life, who has just seen a video of you and just said, hey, I just want to talk to you.
Well, just keep doing the great work and giving platform to artists from all over the world. But because at the end of the day, there is so much happening everywhere,
Yeah.
and thanks to social media now we have an opportunity to come from all places, um, around the globe, and just be united by our passion for dance and movement, but also through platforms like yours, to really showcase talent from all over the world. And in my country, I don't know if this is a good ending, but in my country there is a saying that when you have two dirty potatoes and
Mhm.
they rub each other, they actually clean each other off. So the more the
Yes.
potatoes rub each other, they actually clean each other. So
Mhm.
in a way, this is what we need to keep doing. Coming from all these different places and just having conversations, having dialogues, doing collabs, or whatever it takes to rub off and clean our talent, to the point where it can really shine and it can really have meaning.
Absolutely. I definitely agree because again, in our art form, and I get it, some people have a persona that they have on stage, but I always tell people, once you come off that stage, you're still dealing with your own self. And
Exactly.
at the end of the day, I feel that, again, even as artists, we have to I always tell people, appreciate the artists, because again, also mental health is important.
Hmm.
But you never know what these artists are going through, and just simply saying hello definitely carries weight. And guys, I've really everyone who is listening, who will be listening, this has really been an amazing episode of the Live Discussions with Diamond podcast, episode 223. Iva, it's been a pleasure having you. We definitely want to have you back again, seeing all the work you've been able to do later on this year, and
Thank you
everyone who
so
will be
much.
tuning in.
Thank you
This
so
was
much again, and thank you to everyone who is watching and will be watching this episode. Thank you guys for taking the time to do so.
absolutely everyone. Please follow Iva. Please check her social media. I'll be sharing that right after this interview.
Thank
Everyone, take care.
you.
Have a great night. Stay
Good
safe.
night.